You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
For the Board of Selectmen for October 21st to order. This is actually an in-person meeting, however, we do have some people attending through Zoom. If you do like to speak on an item, I ask that you please raise your hand. Moving along. Item 1. Consider and appropriate approve a recommendation from Public Building Commission and the Yale Cottsgrove Animal Shelter Commission to waive bid. Is there any?
Yeah, I'm off.
Oh, hang on one second. Okay, I'm sorry. To waive the bid for the architectural and design services for the Daniel Cosgrove Animal Shelter renovation and expansion project and award the contract to Joseph Seapot Architects in the amount of $90,000. We did discuss this at our last meeting. After a discussion, Selectman Dunbar had asked for some time so he can do some further research under this matter, and we now bring this back before the board. So I ask if there's a at this time, if there's a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved by Selectman Dunbar, seconded by Selectman Higgins. All right, is there any discussion on this?
Based on all of the information I got from local architects, based on the system that we have in place right now, we are so far along that it makes no sense to go back out to bid, because we'd be paying for some of the same work over again. So with that in mind, I was happy to make the motion.
I have a comment, please.
Okay, thank you, Selectman Dunbar. It's been moved and seconded. And,
I have a comment, please.
any further discussion?
Yes, I have a comment.
Hold on one second. I think we do have a. One resident. Go ahead. Can you unmute yourself, Wayne?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I have no problem with Mr. Seapot, continuing as he has. He's an excellent architect, and reputation precedes him. And I also am on record a number of times saying that the project that the animal shelter is pursuing is excellent. What I have a question is, and I think I'm asking it on behalf of the community, is when you start a project like the animal shelter, like the community house, I'm not sure about the middle school, but how does it get started? In other words, how did Mr. Seapot come on initially? Where did the funds come from? Were other consultants brought on? Because as I understand it, this project was pretty well along before it ever got to the RTM. And I don't even know, and I don't know this, I'm not on the RTM, but I don't even think the RTM had any wind of this happening until it was so far along that, as the second selectman just said, you really can't stop it. So, and this was done, quite frankly, and I'm going to be honest when I say this, and you all know I feel this way, this was done a lot like this for the community house. I've said publicly many times that you spent $13 million down there, and the process was shoved along. So by the time it got anywhere, it had picked up such momentum that nobody could stop it, particularly when, and I've said this too, the process was cut off even from the seniors participating. And that happened. You heard seniors say that. So my question is, I don't know how many projects you got on the horizon. And again, I don't have a problem with this one or Mr. Seapot, but how does something like this get started? How much does it cost? And who knows about it before it builds up such momentum that it really can't be stopped?
Ray, I muted you, so if you want to speak, just let me know. I muted you, but if you need to speak, just let me know. So as far as this process and the project, I don't think that's accurate to say that the RTM or other bodies didn't know about it. Actually, both the Board of Finance and RTM were made aware of this project well, probably over a year ago. This was part of the building, I shouldn't say the Dan Cosgrove Animal Shelter Commission had been working on this, which was all in public documented public meetings. So to say that it was they weren't aware of it until it got to this point is not an accurate statement.
I asked a question.
Animal shelter. I answered the question, please.
No, but mine was a question. I didn't say anything. I just asked the question.
Yes, I'm answering.
Okay,
the question.
fine.
So, and as far as how it moved along, the animal shelter has a fund which they can access for certain uses, which they do. That's outside of the general fund dollar. And as far as to say that this was just pushed along, I think I stated it wasn't. You used the analogy of the community center. I think that's pretty well documented, the amount of transparency that went through that project. So any other comments or questions from anybody? All right.
I have a couple questions.
Hold on one second. Hold on.
I can make a comment.
Well, first of all,
Yep. You wait till you're acknowledged, Mr. Cook, okay?
This is Marilyn Villette. I can make a comment, please, as chairman of the commission.
Sure. Go ahead, Mel.
Okay. Wayne, you asked the question of why Joe was brought on in the first place, and I can actually answer that question. When the commission first thought about this project a while ago, we actually had no idea how to go about the whole thing, if you really want to know. So when we first thought about doing things and restructuring the shelter and things like that, we had to come up with a plan for ourselves in order to figure out how to even go about if we wanted to proceed or how to even go about asking the town to help us. The reason why we reached out to Joe Seapot was because he is the original architect of the building. And we felt that he was the correct person for us at the time when we were trying to gather our fact finding and put together a proposal to come up with the plan. So we asked Joe to help us with this because he is the original architect for the building. And that's kind of why he was brought on board. It wasn't done in a secretive way. It was done in a way that made sense to us, because what other architect would we go to if it wasn't Joe, because he's the one that did the original building. So that was our feeling on that, and I hope that answered your question.
well, quite frankly, Marilyn, it does and it doesn't. And I have no problem with that's the process you went through, and your intentions were fine and it seemed to make sense, and maybe it still does. But I think it's important to recognize that once you start that process, in terms of, in this case, it happened to be Mr. Seapot, then there's a momentum buildup. And yes, he did the original building, which was fine. And yes, you brought him on to do the next part. But once that happens, then we end up being where we are right now, is that there's another 90,000 that just seems to make sense that it goes to him. So it's a process that continues and continues, as opposed to maybe when you were back in the beginning and said, yeah, we'd like to go with, Mr. Seapot, but maybe we should open this up so others have some input as well. It's just a question. I mean, do I have a huge problem with this? No, I don't. But I think that if we're going to adhere to a process that's consistent, then we have to adhere to a process that's consistent. And I think that's a fair point. And I will say one more thing, and I won't belabor this, but I take strong exception to the first selectman's contention that the community house was a transparent process. Don't even get me started on that. I could pull up a screen share right now, and you know I have it, that shows it was far from transparent. So I'm not going to debate that over this issue, but there'll be plenty of time to do it in the future.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I won't get you going on that, but I just will, one other thing to clear the record when you talk about process for those who are watching. There are a couple projects that we're actually, the architect, the design team did change from the concept, feasibility, concept phase to the schematic construction design phase. So that was the Walsh Intermediate School project, as well as the community center project. So there's two projects there that state that clearly show that we went through that process. So, all right, here.
I'm aware of that. That they changed, but I'm talking about this project and the fact that it did set a precedent here. And what I'm also saying is, don't get me started on the community house. I don't know enough about Walsh, because you and I can go round and round about that all day long.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none?
I have a statement.
Okay. Identify yourself, please.
Mika Lambos.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to request that the Board of Selectmen adhere to the agenda so that things don't get bogged down. I know you have a lot of work to cover. Most of you are volunteers. You really don't need to go on and on all night long. So let's stay to the agenda. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. All right.
May I make a comment to that, please? May I make a comment to that?
No, we're taking a vote now.
Okay, fine, but I want to speak to that because I know exactly who that was directed at, and she's got a lot of nerve saying that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passage unanimous. Thanks.
Can I speak to that now, please?
You can speak on the other business. We're moving on. Reappointments. Veterans Advisory Committee, Richard Dunn and Dennis Flanagan, terms to expire January 31st, 2022. These were approved at the Board of Selectmen meeting held October 7th, but for terms to expire 2021 was on the agenda. So can I get a motion to correct those terms?
Go ahead, Billy. Sorry. Second.
All right, made by Selectman Dunbar, seconded by Selectwoman Higgins. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, passed unanimously. Green use, to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the Branford Garden Club to hold the second annual pumpkin pie sale on Saturday, October 24th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Motion to approve?
Moved by Selectwoman Higgins, seconded by Selectman Dunbar. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 4, correspondence. It's not in the packet. We did receive a couple correspondence. First, we did receive a request from Representative Brockett to form a sidewalk, asked this body to form a sidewalk committee. I know our plan of conservation and development states to have such a committee, but also focused on, I believe, bicycle lanes and other things. So I did reach out to the town planner, who I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission a couple of years ago had charged the Planning and Zoning Department to look into this matter. The former assistant town planner had begun working on this. I'm waiting for him to give me some follow-up information, and then we'll come back and see if there's a way to proceed with that, the best way to proceed. Anyone? Okay. Oh, I didn't know. And then the other one was we did receive a request by Representative Brockett to for this body to adopt a proclamation. I understand the what this country's going through, especially although it seems to have certainly with the death of George Floyd that has certainly brought this to a national attention. We're all aware of that. I know there's been many different movements brought about since that. But I just want to say that I think when this body takes action, it's for the interest of this community, and that's what we represent as this community. And I have stated since the very beginning of becoming first selectman, and even before that, I feel the strength of our community is that we're inclusive, that we celebrate our diversity, and we welcome it here. I think that this town has, the community by and large has shown such in its years and through administrations and just through the citizenry actions throughout. We've come out, and that's what we know for. Black lives do matter, and if any community within our community of Branford feels that they need to be heard, they're certainly welcome to, and we welcome that. I think we have a track record of showing that we support one another. So where I don't feel that the proclamation as drafted by Representative Black is appropriate for this body, I do want the community as a whole, and in the Black community and other minority communities within Branford, to know that they are welcomed and that we are here to support one another. That's with that, any other business?
Yes, can I speak to correspondence first, and then I'd like to speak to other business? Correspondence, I sent this is Wayne Cook, I sent the Board of Selectmen 2 letters requesting to be placed on the Clean Energy Commission, or actually ad hoc committee, and also the Coastal Resiliency ad hoc committee. I think that those committees, from my experience, are far too skewed in one direction. You need people objective. I like to consider myself objective that would participate and at least give another perspective going forward. So I would like to be included on those 2 ad hoc committees. I think I could bring a welcome, at least fresh perspective, because I'm not married to any agenda, and it seems to me those 2 ad hoc committees are. And plus, I know a lot of other people that would like to serve and maybe balance those 2 ad hoc committees out somewhat. So can I have status on those 2 requests, please?
Yes, so certainly and as I stated in the past, I welcome anybody to come forward and express an interest, and if to serve on not only these committees but others, is all they have to do is contact us. As far as your request, Mr. Cook, I would not be supportive. I do not feel that really you demonstrate that you're necessarily there to contribute. Certainly, I think that people need to be of different views and different perspectives, and I welcome that. I think that makes a stronger committee. But quite honestly, I think the way I've witnessed, and certainly it's this board's purview to appoint members we feel that will actually we feel are in the best interest of our town to serve. And I got to be honest, with what I've seen demonstrated, I don't see it being productive. I don't see it's in the best interest, and I don't see that you're there to actually contribute.
Yeah, well, let me speak to that. I like to hear the other 2 selectmen say that they don't think that I contribute anything. I mean, I like to hear both Selectman Dunbar and Selectman Higgins say that I personally have not contributed anything to this town in the last dozen years. including, along with the help of a lot of other citizens, putting you in the seat that you're sitting in right now. So don't tell me that I don't contribute or the citizens that I work with did not contribute, because that would be the utmost hypocrisy for you to say something like that. I think the truth of the matter is you don't want me on there because me and other people ask questions that you don't want to answer, and you don't want your agenda exposed. And that's the real answer. So let's be really honest about that. You're fooling nobody. So no big surprise. I wouldn't want me on there either, because I'm one of the people out there that keep you honest, or try to keep you honest. Good luck keeping you honest. Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Or no? Okay. I don't think anyone else has any comments.
I have other business. I'd like screen share, please.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes.
Oh, now it's 5 minutes?
No, I gave you 5 minutes last time, too.
No, you didn't give me 5 minutes last time. You didn't even give me any time last time. You adjourned the meeting when I wanted to speak, so don't lie about that, too. Screen share?
Give me a second, all right?
Hi. Can I speak?
Sure, you could speak while you...
Yeah. Shirley McCarthy. I object to, Wayne, your tone and your attacks. They go against Robert's Rules of Order. They're disruptive, and it's hard to think clearly when you're attacking, particularly someone as good-hearted and a great leader, such as our first selectman, James Cosgrove, and you destroy the meeting. So please back off, Wayne.
I'm never going to back off. I will never back off. And the only reason that you're saying this is because the first selectman gives you everything you want.
Okay, we're going to move on.
It's absolutely true. And I can go right down the list, and I will go right down the list. So
Okay, Mr. Cook, this is your time.
It's my turn. Can I speak or not? Screen share?
Yes, I mean, you're on the clock now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You're
sure.
going to share the screen?
I am going to share the screen.
All right, share the screen. We can't see it.
Just quickly, I want to put this up for a minute. Can you see that or not yet?
Now we see it.
Okay, just quickly. This is what we got for $13.5 million. This is the new community house. The pink area is what we got for $13.5 million. That's the extent that the footprint changed. Okay? Real bargain down there. Now, if you followed the process, we would have two buildings, two beautiful buildings. Alex Paluzzi would have a second gymnasium, which he told me he needed more than anything else. But what do we have? We got some Taj Mahal that who knows why we needed this thing, and the reality is that's the footprint, and here's it is. That's what cost us $13.5 million, that addition, because everything else is exactly the same, only renovated, and you could have renovated it for a whole lot less than what you paid. So let's be real clear about that. Moving forward, I'd like to go to another slide, please. Hang on a second. As an update, last night at the RTM committee meeting, it was an extremely enlightening meeting about Parkside Village, the Branford Housing Authority, and the real concerns down there about fraud, embezzlement, and cover-up. And the fact that this was brought to the first selectman's attention, I don't know, years ago, and you categorically ignored the whole thing. Now, you weren't at the meeting last night, but at some point, along with a lot of other issues out there, you're going to have to be accountable for this. The question is, what on earth happened to $4.5 million? And that's what the citizens want to know. What happened to $4.5 million of funding that went to the Branford Housing Authority that nobody can account for, nobody wants to account for, and you got citizens down there that are irate that they are not being listened to. That's one issue. Second issue, coming up in about a couple of weeks, once again, the Atlantic Wharf, what's going on over there? Things continue to blow around. We don't know what kind of hazardous waste is in there. And, quite frankly, you have not been honest. I don't believe that East Shore Health has been honest. And quite frankly, we've got a real problem there that's just sitting there as well. Thirdly is Jay Medlen's farm. We went over that in detail, at one meeting, but just as a reminder to everybody that that problem continues to exist, based upon what they did down there, the Branford Land Trust, to build this catwalk, tearing out the berm, flooding the whole area. Who did it? These three individuals. Peter Raymond, the president, Bill Horn, who was the director of the project, and John Lust, who was the engineer or whatever he did behind it. Again, the Branford Land Trust, I wish you would get them in here, let them come out, say what they did. We want to know what they had to do. But once again, I personally, sorry if I'm being a little bit confrontational, am calling them out to be accountable and account for what they did. Lastly, and I'd like to hear what the other two selectmen have to say about this, we are still waiting on that investigation that you promised months ago. Well, actually, you promised it years ago. Forget about months ago. And in terms of the corruption, the collusion, and the lies that had to do with the Costco denial, or the whole inland wetlands, which is now in litigation, but the public still has a right to know about this investigation, which you promised. Why was Diana Ross's handwriting all over the peer review, the independent peer review? You've never answered that. People want to know, why was the inland wetlands director handwriting all over that to change the project so that it would be denied? And you promised town investigate. Well, First Selectman, if you're investigating in 2016, where's the investigation? Because you haven't come up with it yet. You won't even show Selectman Higgins and Selectman Dunbar the investigation. Well, what are they? People put them in that position for a reason. You can trust them. I think you can trust the other two selectmen with the investigation. So where is it? And here it is. You promised it. I don't have to read it again, but you're currently engaged in a careful review of the whole situation. No, you're not. You didn't do anything. You let it go. You let Diana Ross go off the hook. Matter of fact, you gave her a raise after what she did. And Costco took off. And what did you do for 2 years? Nothing. You ran on Costco coming, but you did nothing. You did nothing to salvage it. And don't blame it on Cook wanting too much money, because we know the story behind that. Because when I sat down with Costco, a couple times that I did, they said, first of all, Montesano, the Costco representative, said, I asked him, why did they leave? He goes, because Diana Ross is still there, meaning they're still corrupt. And then I asked him again, what went on about 3 or 4 months later. And what happened? He said, the reason, making a noise. What is that?
All right, go ahead. We done?
You allowing that to happen?
No, I'm trying to. I can't. There, it's muted.
You have no problem muting me.
Are you getting wrapped up?
I'm finishing up right now.
Listen, you're done now. That's your last screen, right?
These are still issues that are out there. These are still issues that you are ignoring. They're going to continue to go out there. I continue to have people pay attention to these things, because this town is absolutely corrupt. There is no question in my mind this town is corrupt, and we will continue to show that this town is corrupt. If they want more information, they go to BranfordFraud.com, because you'll see it all there. You'll see the Costco, you'll see everything else. It's all there. That's it for now.
All right.
Comment from this other two selectmen, please, regarding the investigation.
Yeah, hang on one second. All right. Now, as far as the investigation, I addressed that the last meeting with the other two selectmen. As far as your statement as that this is, I've done nothing or hiding it, is, again, I explained to the other selectmen the other day why the attorney felt he couldn't come in at this point. We'd still continue to look into it.
Why don't you tell us?
I stated at the beginning of the meeting.
I didn't hear it. You just said you weren't going to have a meeting. You didn't say anything about, why the investigation is not available to the other two selectmen. Why don't you show that? Just show the other two selectmen. I don't have to see it. Yeah. Show them.
And
well, show them. Why can't you show them?
Listen, there's nothing there. The other thing that I just think is important for the benefit of those who are listening, Mr. Cook, in your slides and your words that you use, it is actually it actually doesn't accurately reflect your continually say independent investigation. As I stated prior, it is not an independent.
It is absolutely an independent.
Independent review. It is a peer review that works with town staff, similar, which happens.
Absolutely, without question, that is completely wrong. That is completely dishonest. If that's what you really think, we're in bigger trouble than even I thought I am.
Yeah.
The Inland Wetlands Director has no business touching that peer review so that they can deny Costco. Are you saying that? Is that what you're telling this town?
No,
that's exactly what you're telling this town. She has an input on that peer review so that they can deny Costco. Is that what you're telling this town?
No, that's not what I'm telling
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, you see, once again.
Explain yourself. Well, what is it?
They say, no, please, hold on. All right. That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
I said you said it is a independent. You underlined independent, and quite honestly, the peer reviewers work whether it's planning and zoning or inland wetlands, and it's not only the Costco application. It's pretty much every time there's an application that uses a peer reviewer to come in and provide the expertise with and works alongside staff. That is absolutely the process. So quite honestly,
you must be kidding me. You must be kidding me. And I'm so glad you said that, because now you're on record that you actually endorse the Inland Wetlands Director forging that document.
No. See, once again,
exactly what you said.
That's not what I said. Once again, you
said.
All right. Is there anybody who has anything that they would like to?
Yeah, I'd like to continue, because the truth of the matter is you're not even allowing people to understand the other parts of it, that she kept lying. She kept lying to the people about this peer review being ready, and then it wasn't ready. Why don't you read what's on that BranfordFraud.com? Why don't you do it first, Selectmen? Why don't you go there? And you'll see the facts.
Are you the host, Krista? Are you the host?
No, you're the host.
Oh, it's not anymore.
Good. Then I can keep talking, I guess, right?
Yeah, all right. All right. Is there any other resident that would like to make a comment, or Selectman?
Well, the only comment I have is you explained to us last week, and we're just waiting, that the attorney representing the parties involved didn't want to do it in an executive session, and therefore they were trying to find another format to do it in. So I'm waiting on the format, as maybe the Selectman is, but I think that's how we ended it.
Now, wait a minute. One last thing. Excuse me. Second Selectman Dunbar.
That's where we are right now.
What you're waiting for is what? You're waiting to see a memorandum written up. That's what you've been waiting for the last several months. I mean, that has nothing to do with strategizing the lawsuit. Why don't you just ask to see that one document? I would love you guys, you and Selectman Higgins, to see that one document. Then you can say, yeah, it's there. It's there. Where is it?
Okay, we have an individual who would like to unmute. Go ahead.
Are you talking to me?
Still persisting.
Yes, that's Kate. I'm curious whether it's wise for a person who has a lawsuit against the town to be coming on to these meetings and going on and on with negative and actually threatening behavior. Does your lawyer know that you're doing this? It doesn't.
Right. I have a perfect right to do it. And tell you the truth, Mrs. Galán.
Okay, we're not going to get into debates between residents here on the.
Okay.
She brought it up. Question.
Yeah, and I answered. We're not going to discuss that here.
I wouldn't want her. If I were her, I wouldn't want me talking about it either, because she's as bad as anybody.
All right. Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Selectman Higgins, seconded by Selectman Dunbar. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.